cohort because after the, what was it, I guess the year 2015 and the events that happened in the United States, Ferguson and things like that, and then listening to This American Life episode about segregation in schools, I was really sad and angry, and I also felt really helpless about structural inequity and just sort of like wanting to quit. Like, what's the point? Like, this is all so, it just felt hopeless. And then we got this email and it was like, let's address this. And I was so happy. I even came in and talked with Karen about it before school started, about how it was like this, in the moment of feeling just so hopeless and angry, it was like, no, now you'll have tools. And so instead of just being upset about something, now let's address it. And that, it was so exciting. It was really cool. I was really happy.
Interesting.
The fact that I do teach sociology has, I think, given me a huge window into equity issues that a lot of teachers don't necessarily get, in terms of seeing it from the outside, not just the inside. So that, coupled with when we were doing WASC last year, we really got to see on a site level how there was no consensus among teachers what constituted equity, or even to a certain point, there was discomfort with even having the equity conversation.
I see.
So that made a big impact on me. So hearing that I could actually continue the talking about equity among a group of my peers, I thought was pretty cool.
I voluntarily joined the cohort conversations with Enid Lee because I thought it was an extraordinary opportunity to get to actually work with somebody like Dr. Lee. An incredible opportunity and experience. There's a lot of injustice that goes on in our systems, and we've even talked here at Santa Cruz High School about there being really two schools within a school, and that this is something that's very frustrating for myself and I think others. And so we really wanted to talk about how do we address the needs of those students who are not being met.
I knew it was a good group of people. I knew who was in it, and I had gone to a presentation of Enid at the beginning of the school year, and she really brings up the hard questions about equity. Why are students of color very often in our society and our school not doing as well in school as white students or students with privilege?
So when I learned that we had an opportunity to meet with Enid regularly, I thought that was just an awesome chance to do something differently. Because I realized that 20 years in, my outcomes weren't very different. I might have become a better teacher over those 20 years, but I wasn't necessarily a better teacher to the kids who were failing. So I figured it was a chance to learn.
I just feel like I'm still struggling with this piece. Like, I gave a test today, and I was doing the math over here, like 8 out of 62 kids who were kind of blowing it, and the rest of the 62 are doing great.
Great, okay.
And I just don't know what to do with those
kids. Fine, all right. So that ratio that
it's about 13%
exactly.
kind of blowing it.
All right. Let's start with the part that's working. And what part is that? What's the evidence? Let's start with, before we get to this. 87% of the students are learning what you're trying to teach them, right? So this is where I think the change comes. The change needs to come in the planning for those students, because if you're going to try to figure out what to do with them, when you encounter them, it's not going to work, in my experience. The chunking was done before. So the thing I would say is the most important is to say, well, in teaching this lesson, what can I put in place that will help me help those students? Now, you may not come up with the answer, but I think it has to be at that stage, at that place. That's the place where it will change most. I think that any work you can do with learning how to differentiate within your subject matter, within your classroom, is going to help the situation. This is why, for instance, these cards that deal with preparation help us do that. I mean, this is just cards, but the ideas of what you need to think about as you prepare for the different levels of experience and the different kinds of experience that come into your room.
So I gained from this experience working with the cohort the opportunity to reflect back on my practices, particularly with my APU assisted class in the fall. And where I feel like I made the most changes and benefited the most was working with the students who were in the AVID program and also students who were in special ed, and how to adapt my curriculum so that it could meet their needs but still stay strong and challenging for them as well.
I wish I could say that I'm like, woohoo, there's no inequity in my class anymore, which I obviously can't say. And one of the sort of suggestions that stuck with me the most was this idea of like, not starting at the abstract, but starting with the concrete and moving out. Which, you know, with chemistry, there's so much that's so abstract, and so trying to like take all of those abstract things and really put them into a concrete example or analogy, you know, so we're not just going to talk about, you know, how to find the remaining amount of your excess reactant, and here's how you do it, and here's an example with your calcium chloride and your sodium carbonate, and you're making calcium carbonate, but rather like, okay, if you're making sandwiches and you've got this much bread and this, you're making fried egg sandwiches, you've got this many eggs, you know, like, if you only have 3 eggs, how many pieces of bread will you have left when you're done? Where like kids can actually like picture and visualize it, right? So that was some advice from Enid that like I've tried to like really incorporate in my class, is to use examples that kids can really like concretely picture.
It is easy to sometimes forget. And so having a check-in and a place where I could listen to other people talk about what they were doing in their classrooms, listen to people's challenges and share my own experiences, it just kept me kind of woke to what I was doing and kept me thinking.
I think having a small group of teachers at our school be more thoughtful about the systems that promulgate inequity and how we can recognize them, I think is very useful.
One thing that I have gained from this experience is Dr. Lee gave us a tool called the Assets Inventory. And this gave the teachers a pathway in building a relationship with their students. That our relationships with our students is what keeps our students coming back. It's what makes our students feel safe. When they make mistakes, they need to have somebody who understands them. This assets inventory that Dr. Lee gave us really provides the road for all teachers to be able to make this strong bond with their student and actually come into the classroom with confidence each and every day, willing to make successes, willing to make failures with somebody that they have a connection with, a strong relationship.
I think that, you know, you have to believe to a certain extent that all students have their best welfare in mind. They want to succeed. It's not an us versus them endeavor by any means. And I think students really pick up on the fact when they know that they have a teacher who is seeing them as people. I actually had somebody say that to me last semester. We like you because you treat us like people. And I was like, we love people.
Yes.
And they were like, well, yeah, but that doesn't always happen in every classroom. So really just keeping everything, I see myself as a facilitator in the classroom much more than some sort of, I don't know, implementer of the power thing.
Yes.
And as we kept working with the students and learning about their assets inventories and figuring out what it is that they did well and letting them show us, we found other ways to work with those students and shift their work into academic successes. And it was just wonderful to, you know, talk with other colleagues. I really recommend it to everybody that we're less isolated, that we talk about the students that we share, what is working with you, what do you see from them, how can we assume the best about our students and look at what what assets they already have, and then help them to see themselves as successful students as well.
I just want to say that the process of making change is long and hard. The youth, this cohort here with Kathy and Serena and Veronica, I think we're making dents. You know, we may not crack the whole thing altogether, but we're changing our approach to kids, and that makes me happy.